So yeah, we had I changed the prelim of note to the absolute war of a heavyweight bout on the prelims against Felipe and Tafa. Those dudes just threw down. At one point going literally forehead to forehead and just banging it out in the middle of the octagon. It was super fun to watch. Um, and then yeah, we had Soriano taking out Dusko. I like that name. It sounds made up.
Yeah.
Um, Shock upset uh, versus yeah, Buckley getting KO'd.
Yeah.
Um, Ponzinibbio getting upset.
Yeah. Another
Jing
big
Liang Li taking him out in the first round. And then Condit and Brown went to war. A couple of old dogs got to show off all their tricks, and it was a super fun one to watch. How did you feel about the co-main event?
It was fun, very fun. Not like super violent or anything. They're two old men, so
No.
they don't have that. Both of them were in their primes. Were known for being like these like really like rugged, rough, like blood bleeding, tough, rough guys. They're not that anymore. But it was like, yeah, it was a great fight. It was very, it was great. That's all I got. Is two old men. It was a very good matchmaking. That is what I'll say about
Yeah, yeah, and that's a there's very few things I like more than a couple of 40-ish year old mixed martial arts veterans throwing down because like you said, at this point in their careers, they're not able to dish out as much explosive damage as they probably once were in their careers, but all the skills and all the ways that they're able to express themselves in the octagon are on full display. Um, really fun. The ground, I think what probably surprised a lot of people coming into it was the amount of groundwork. And I thought it was brilliant to watch. Really, really fun.
it. Yep.
Um, and also the first time I've ever seen someone cut their head open with the cage.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
That was weird. Then the main event. I mean, I don't feel it's one of those performances. I'm not sure I could say anything about it that hasn't already been said, but an absolute masterclass from Max Holloway. What did you think? How pumped were you coming off that main event?
Incredibly pumped. That was a jaw-dropping performance. I mean, in the fourth round, when it clearly should have been stopped and wasn't, I'm jumping up off the couch. I'm screaming at the TV. Like, I'm super invested at that point. It got me thinking afterwards. I was like, who is my favorite active fighter right now? Just my personal favorite fighter that's active right now. And I got thinking about it, and I was like, it has to be either Max or Izzy, and I think it's Max. Like at a certain time years ago, it was probably like Cerrone, like a guy that just like fighting all the time, throwing down, getting into balls. Dude, Max is the ultimate level of that. Like the shit he's doing is just outrageous. Like the 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 ultimate. I'm putting his cardio up there with like flyweights, like the ultimate cardio. Period. The guy's throwing 700 strikes all the way into the fifth round after 25 minutes, not tired. I mean, like, obviously he's tired, but like, he is still going with the same pace that he was in the first. It's insane. Crazy performance. Another one got me thinking, like, what were other, like, just masterful performances? Like Usman against Woodley. Woodley, super highly respected at the time, multiple title defenses, gets stomped 50-45 flat. I mean, this fight was had a 50-42. I've never seen a 50-42
Two
before.
two 50-43s and a 50-42.
I mean, it's just insane. Max is amazing, has been amazing, continues to be amazing. This I'll refer to him as the Ultra Instinct Max, the DBZ and
Yeah.
DBS guys out there. He hit an ascended level, which Calvin Kattar, granted, he did a great job in just absorbing damage. I'll give him that for whatever it's worth. But he gave Max a lot to work with. He moves he doesn't move laterally. All his blocking is a lot of just showing up and eating punches. And he kind of for the last 2 to 3 rounds essentially just became a standing punching bag for Max.
Mhm.
But even still, Max was just that shit at the end of the fifth round was just looking out of the cage, talking to DC whilst landing a strike on Calvin and then doing the full Anderson versus Bonner, just like boop 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 boop. Nope, not even looking at you. Dodged all that shit. You are nothing to me. Yeah, that's the guy. That is, in my humble opinion, the best featherweight in the world. Which I know this is a highly debated topic right now in the UFC with the fact that there is another man holding the belt in the division, but I would argue that you can have a best fighter of a certain division that is not the belt holder. What you think?
Well, I mean, that's always been the argument, right? Because I mean, that's the thing that Chael Sonnen has said forever and ever is that the best is an illusion because you're the best until Anderson Silva was the best until Chris Weidman showed up. Chris Weidman was the best until Rockhold showed up. Like the belt ultimately is an illusion, but I mean, I'm not completely comfortable with. I mean, the truth of the matter is, right? Volkanovski is up 2-0 against Max. It might not be that version of Max, but he's 2-0 against Max. Max has had two opportunities to beat Volkanovski, and he can't. Um, the first one I thought was pretty clear cut Volkanovski. It's become a really weary debate about the second one, about, Max actually won or whatever. But I mean, we talk about it a lot in MMA, and I think I'm always trying to guard myself against recency bias. Like, if Volkanovski goes out and knocks out uh,
Ortega.
Ortega, right? He goes starches Ortega. We're back to saying that Volkanovski's the best featherweight in the planet. It's just who have we seen last? Um, Granted, we'll take a look at the rankings next. There's no one else. Like they're the three is Ortega, um, at a distant third, in my opinion.
Yep.
Um, even while he put on a masterful performance against Korean Zombie,
That's all he had. And in all
that's it.
honesty, he doesn't really have much of a claim to a title shot. He's
Yeah,
getting it
yeah.
because it feels strange to give Max an immediate third fight. But Ortega, yeah, I mean, just got beat to all hell by Max. And if he wins against Volkanovski, or if Volkanovski does anything less than obliterate Ortega, I mean, Max has a very strong case to stand on that.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the Ortega fight because it's a new Ortega. It's like a completely different Ortega than we've ever seen,
That's true.
and I think that's why he's getting so many props. Really, when this conversation is taking place, a lot of places people are really treating him like, uh, these three dudes as three kings.
Yep.
Which one's the true ruler, right? Um, yeah, man. I mean, it's yeah. What else could you say? And one thing has to be said: when the scorecards are read at the end of a fight, and you see 50-43 on two and 50-42 on one, at that point, like, is that a sign that maybe you need to like have the referee do a review? Like, is that a sign that maybe you need to like give corners guidelines about when they should stop it for their fighter? This was honestly 10 extra minutes that didn't need to happen. We
Yep.
knew who the we knew who was the better fighter after 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a I'm all about more fights. I'm all about seeing more fighting. But man, if the corners and the referees don't want to stop it, a possible solution would be 3-round main events. Because it doesn't seem like anything else. It doesn't seem like anyone else wants to change, and the corners are never gonna apologize. The referees are never gonna apologize. Calvin Kattar was clearly not as good, and if the point of the sport is to find out who the best in the world is, we can do that after 15 minutes. We don't need 25 minutes just to have a fuller television schedule. It's yeah, it was tough to watch after a certain point, especially right after. I mean, it was the same week that the Spencer Fisher article came out.
Yeah,
It just didn't need to happen, man. It
yeah,
just didn't need to happen, and I hope he takes a shit ton of time off
yeah,
because he needs it.
yeah. I mean, God, or he needs to take the Ortega approach. I mean, good Lord, yeah, 2 years off probably, and just like heal your brain and come back because Lord knows how much damage that did to him. Not alone just his taking years off his fighting career, but like taking years off his brain. I mean, good Lord, just the damage sustained is outrageous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That fight totally should have been stopped. Yeah, that was a mess.
Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look. The next, um, so these are the records. The record that was broken in that fight. Speaking of damage inflicted and taken, Max Holloway broke his own record. Um, 578 combined significant strikes in the main event. So it's adding both of them together. Um, geez, dude, 578 shared significant strikes. Granted, we know who landed more of them.
Yeah, obviously. You know, Max is like, hmm, nah, throw it back to you. Let me build this idea more. You go for a minute.
Yeah, well, I mean, fights with the most combined significant strikes, Max is in all three of them. So, speaking of brain health and saving yourself, um, it's good he doesn't spar anymore. Um, and then I'll go ahead and read Calvin Cutter's post fight statement via Instagram we have on the right here. Success in life comes when you simply refuse to give up. With gold so strong that obstacles, failures, and loss only act as motivation. Props to Max on a hell of a fight. He deserves all the praise. Thankful for my team's commitment for this fight. On to the next. There is no stopping the man who doesn't quit. And I mean that's certainly in line with Calvin Cutter because as much as we do talk about it should have been stopped or whatever, truth of the matter is they can quit anytime they want. And while it was also horrifying, it was also inspiring to see Calvin Cutter stay into it. And I would say I was going to say this earlier, but it popped back in my head. His fight on Saturday was really represented the curse of the power puncher, especially a guy like Calvin Cutter who carries his power deep into a fight. It's just unfortunately Max Holloway has a hell of a chin. So and Calvin Cutter landed some awesome punches. He landed a few brutal uppercuts when Max ended up on the inside, and probably most featherweights on the planet would have at least wobbled. But Max Holloway, at worst, backed away a little bit, took a few breaths, and then went back to the pressure. So
Yeah, dude, Max has an insane, insane chin. I mean, remember he went up with no intention of putting on weight or anything, just didn't cut weight and went up to lightweight, fought Dustin Poirier, ate bombs and got beat up pretty good, and then ended up coming back and winning the fifth round of that fight. Um, and yeah, it was fine. I mean, his chin is very strong. He obviously, with his big flurry at the end of the fifth, was making the case that he is the best boxer in MMA. This was my thought I was trying to put together earlier. I guess I break striking down in MMA into two distinct categories as volume strikers and snipers. Your snipers are your Connors, your Izzy, your Michael Johnsons, your guys that are throwing one shots that put you out. They're snipers. All the rest, volume strikers, your Diaz's, your Maxes, and them. Of your volume strikers across all weight classes, I have to say Max, I think, is the best volume striker in MMA.
Well, I don't even think he has much competition
That's it. I mean,
when you
who else
consider
fights with a
well, when you consider the gas tank, because there
yeah,
are volume strikers that I mean, they just can't keep that pace, man.
no,
Like, there's no one else that can keep that pace. And, thinking about volume strikers, yeah, I mean, it's hard to think of because there's you know I hate it, but it's true. There's levels.
yes,
It sounds super basic to say it, but there's
it's
levels.
very true.
And so
Pull up those rankings because
yeah, yeah.
that is when we will get to these levels here.
So we'll address the rankings on the right. Those are the current featherweight rankings as of earlier this afternoon. These are the featherweight rankings. We have Max at number 1. He's staying put. We have Ortega at number 2, staying put. We have Zabit, who, in my opinion, is I just need to see him fight a top 5 guy, to be honest. A top 5 guy who also wins in 5 rounds before I really whatever. We're not talking about Zabit, but I personally think that um he's relatively untested.
Yes,
I'm
Zabit,
surprised he's number 3.
Z-
That was honestly when I looked at these rankings, my first thought was, how is he number 3?
yes, Zabit.
What
His next fight 100% has to be a 5 round main event. He's never been in 5 rounds. Has to be in 5 rounds if you're going to be up at number 3 fighting for title contention.
Well, yeah, because I mean he's finished guys for sure, but I
He's
would
also
want to.
shown to be getting tired at the end of the 3rd round in some of these fights, even
Yeah.
against Calvin Kattar.
Well, he's explosive, man. He throws a ton of weapons. He's I mean, I'm not trying to say that he's not good. I feel like his highest profile win is Calvin Kattar, who's number 6.
And it's like, look at this breakdown of this list, right? So you got Max at number 1. Max is not even the champion of this division. He's number 1. The number 6 guy got 50-42. Okay, so anyone below him, 7 through 15, y'all are getting 50-40. Okay, so there are only Brian Ortega, Zabit, Yair, Korean Zombie between them. That's it. Those are the only options of people that Max could even possibly fight. Ortega already obliterated him. That's not going to happen. Options for people for Max to fight: Zabit, Yair, Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie's coming off of a bad loss to Ortega. It's not going to be him. So you got, would we want to match up Max against Yair or Zabit? I don't know about either one of those things. Zabit has never fought 5 rounds, and you're going to put him in a 5 round main event against the 5 round guy, the guy. And Yair he's been 5 rounds. He went 5 rounds with Zombie.
Yeah, but Dana White just said stuff. So I don't want to put too much stock into what he said. But it was relatively recently he was asked about the status of Yair Rodriguez, and he said, I do not see him fighting anytime soon. I don't know what that means.
Oh, that was revealed. If you missed that reveal,
No, what is it?
it was USADA. He got USADA. That was the reveal.
Ooh,
So he has currently
on
been
what?
USADA'd. I don't recall the exact details, but he is wrapped up in a USADA situation right So
2-year one.
I don't think it's a 2-year one because they would have pulled him from the rankings already. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure exactly what happened. We'll have to look it up after the show. We'll have an
It could
episode.
have been some 420, dog.
That's true. They did just do away with all
They
that.
literally just did away with them. So,
But
yeah,
featherweight is in a rough spot right now. That's all I'm saying.
it's super young.
It's
It's
top.
super young.
It's
It's a,
super top heavy.
yeah. Hmm. Man. Yeah, there's fun matchups, but yeah, you're right. Once you get to a certain point, you get to this. I mean, you don't know till you know. Right? Like you don't know till they face off, which is what I love about MMA. But at the same time, we have data to work with on all these people, and really, you do get to a certain point where it's like, well, yeah, there's fun matchups from number 5 all the way down to 15, but yeah, you look at the top 2, the top 3, including the champion, and you're like, oh, they're gonna put him against like no, but like nothing against. I'm just gonna pick a name out of the hat. Um, Shane Burgos.
It's like
Let's say Shane Burgos rattles off a win against Arnold Allen, Jeremy Stevens, and Josh Emmett.
mhm.
Does that mean I think he should face down Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, or Volkanovski? No.
It's like the task before any person in the featherweight division right now is, oh, do you want a title shot? Well, in order to get a title shot, you have to go through Max Holloway. That's
Oh,
you have to get through him. You're not even fighting for the belt. It's insane. No one in the division is up to the task right now, which is why we're left with this. Like, what do we do? What do we do if we?
dude, it has to be said. It has to be said. I feel horrible for Volkanovski.
Of course, he's
I
in.
feel horrible. He is one of the few champions, right? He's one of the few champions that is truly like, I do not care about any weight class other than my own. I want to fight. I want to fight an endless stream of dudes who they say are the best, and I want to beat all of them top to bottom. Well, unfortunately for him, the list begins and ends with Max Holloway.
Yeah.
He can't get away from the man.
No.
And the thing is, it's not like he's dodging him from where Volkanovski is. He's like, I'm not afraid to fight him. I've beaten him twice. I
And
just am not interested.
the part that no one talks about, which is the real truth behind all of this, is so they fight a third time. If Max wins, they will never do that fight again. They will be like, all right, we're good. We're out. Max has got the belt back. We're never going to do a fourth fight between the two of them. So Volkanovski then is going to be dicked over and never get a chance at the belt again because it's just the way it's going to shake out.
The problem is he has a name like a dude who doesn't speak English.
Yeah, yeah.
So when people hear like featherweight champion Volkanovski,
Mhm.
I think the general fan is just like, I'm not gonna know what that guy's talking about.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's just an Australian dude, or is he from New Zealand?
I don't remember. I think it's New Zealand. Maybe it's Australia. Who knows?
I know it's
We're not
horrible.
very cultured people over here in America.
Well, it's just hard to tell. I mean, but well, it's easy to tell when they speak, but you know. Anyway, hold on. It's New Zealand. It's New Zealand because does he work with City Kickboxing?
He does, but I thought he did something with the New
No, he's
Australia.
Australian because he works with Eugene Merman.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's Whitaker's coach. Which did you? That's a good Max reaction.
Eugene Behrman is City Kickboxing.
Well, shit. Who's what's his name? I watch Grange TV.
Yeah, yeah, that guy.
Why do I not know his name?
I forgot it, but yeah, I know a guy.
Yeah, you should watch if you haven't already his reaction to Max's performance.
No, I haven't seen that.
It's good. because he said, yeah, he understands. He's like, there's no one else, but it sucks. Yeah, and then moving on to the left. So we'll move away from the featherweight division and focus in on welterweight.
Perfect.
Now we had Jing Liang take out Ponzinibbio in the first round, which catapulted him to number 12 as of earlier today. Number 12. Now, looking at those rankings, who would you want to see him take on in that that bottom of the top 15?
Honestly, 10, 11, or 13 are all excellent options. I don't want to see him versus Robbie Lawler. And obviously, Hamzat is basically number 3 at this point. They're just putting him at number 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, here's another one, because I'll enter his name into the conversation. After Condit has come off 2 wins, granted, one against Court McGee, another against another aged veteran of the sport in Matt Brown. Is that a fight that you would want to see?
no, it isn't.
Me either. Thank God.
No.
I don't want to see. I want to see. I don't. People are trying to push Condit into the top 15.
It's not
and I
happening.
so do not. I want to see. If anything, I want a Lawler rematch.
That's the shit I'm talking about. I want him to be fighting like Diego Sanchez.
That's not bad. I'm wondering if he would be open to that. But I think a Lawler rematch would be baller.
Perfect.
It'd be super cool. Yeah.
I was going to throw out a wild one but it's kind of fits in with what you were saying earlier, right? The UFC likes to, when they get a young up and comer, to have him kill off an old legend. How about Li Jing Liang versus old Tyron Woodley? To think about that.
Ooh, that actually, I kind of like that, because when you're looking at building up Jing Liang, although he blames jet lag for his Neil Magny loss, he's got some questions to answer when it comes to wrestling and his work on the floor. So I think a fighter who's going to push him in that area would be pretty good. If you're not looking to actually build him in any sort of way, you put him up against Jeff Neal, you put him up against Vicente Luque or Robbie Lawler, even Bilal Muhammad, dudes who are going to throw down with him. Yeah. Yeah, dude. All the weight, we settle in after each event, and usually it's the weight class that's most featured on the card, and we're just like, man, this weight class is on fire. But truth of the matter is, you look at the top 15 of just about any weight class, and there's fun fights everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm down to watch. I just put the top 15 in a round robin and just sent me down.
Yeah, put them on shuffle.
All right.